Hello and welcome. I'm Sanjay Pinto.
Evelyn Matthew, on the news tonight, we cover Chennai, 360 degrees.
Right, and if you live in the vicinity of what's considered hot property along OMR, Old Mahabalipuram Road, beware of those exposed electricity cables just waiting to snap up the next victim. 40 people get electrocuted every month alone in Tamil Nadu. And just recently, a 7-year-old schoolgirl had a miraculous escape when she accidentally touched a live wire running through a departmental store in Kandanchavadi. That's pretty close to where our studio is situated. Now, shouldn't this be as much a priority as tackling the power cuts? We throw the spotlight on this shocking danger and the high voltage indifference of the electricity board in this power-packed bulletin.
But some departments are working overtime, like the Chennai Corporation. It has a huge task of cleaning up the city in 90 days, and with 500 crore rupees, what's your wish list for the city?
Well, we may be quite accustomed to reading about prostitution rackets being busted in Chennai every fortnight, but hold your breath. Ever wondered if a pimp could actually masquerade as a nurse in a top-notch corporate hospital and try to lure patients recovering after surgeries into her world of sleaze? On the big question tonight, do we make no bones about the flesh trade? We've got the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Flower Bazaar, T.S. Anbu, well-known lawyer, activist and National Vice President of PUCL, Sudha Rambalingam, and G. Jebaraj, Director of Just Trust, an NGO that works against human trafficking. But all that in a very short while from now, after the headlines with Evelyn.
Thanks indeed. Let's take you through the top headlines we're tracking at this hour. Chief Minister Jayalalitha lambasted the Lankan Defence Secretary for his comments on economic sanctions made at the Assembly. Says it's like the devil quoting scriptures. The Chennai Corporation kickstarts its clean-up act at 30 spots, including market hubs. If there's something rotten in your street, call 1913. The Chennai police busts a prostitution racket. The kingpin used to work as a nurse at a corporate hospital. High-tension live wires lie exposed out on the streets of Chennai. Even after these death traps claim innocent lives, the TNEB does little by passing the buck. And a security agency in the city is denied a contract by a temple only because it is run by a man of a different religion. There's also been plenty happening across the nation and across the world as well. Let's take you through some of those headlines. British Prime Minister David Cameron hits out at rioters, says there needs to be more discipline starting out at a school level. A father who lost his son appeals to the rioters. NDTV visits Ground Zero where 3 British Asians were killed. Shocking visuals of how police shot unarmed fleeing farmers who were protesting on the Pune-Mumbai highway on Tuesday. The Modi government targets another police officer who may be charge-sheeted for handing over phone call records to the Nanavati Commission. The Mayawati government bans the film Arakshan based on reservation. The Punjab government holds it till a committee decides. After the Dow loses more than 500 points over recession fears, Asian markets follow. The Sensex ends 0.5% down. Our top story tonight, the Chief Minister played her card for the Sri Lankan Tamil Brethren on the 4th day of the Assembly today. Ms. Jayalalitha blew her top over comments made by Sri Lanka's Defence Secretary, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, on a resolution by the state that sought economic sanctions for its war crimes. She in fact compared his remarks to the devil quoting the scriptures. The Assembly moved a special attention motion to condemn Gotabaya. In addition to that, the DMDK, with support from other political leaders, brought a special attention motion as well. This has been in the backdrop of the thousands of Tamil civilians who've been killed in the recent wars. Amma has now urged the centre to summon the Sri Lankan envoy in Delhi to condemn these remarks. The Chief Minister, in fact, today clarified that the resolution passed in the Assembly on the 9th of June was based on the United Nations panel of experts report, which found the allegations of war crimes against Sri Lanka credible.
இலங்கை தமிழர்களுக்கு மறுவாழ்வளிக்கப்படும் வரை, இலங்கை தமிழர்கள் தங்கள் சொந்த இடங்களில் மீண்டும் குடியமர்த்தப்படும் வரை, சிங்களர்களுக்கு இணையான அந்தஸ்து அவர்களுக்கு கிடைக்கும் வரை எனது தலைமையிலான அரசு ஓயாது என்பதையும் தமிழர்களின் இந்த நியாயமான உரிமைகளை வென்றெடுக்க தேவையான ராஜதந்திர நடவடிக்கைகளை எனது அரசு எடுக்கும் என்பதையும் தெரிவித்துக் கொண்டு, தமிழ்நாடு சட்டமன்ற பேரவையில் நிறைவேற்றப்பட்ட தீர்மானத்திற்கு உள்நோக்கம் கற்பிக்கும் வகையில் பேட்டி அளித்துள்ள இலங்கை அரசின் பாதுகாப்பு செயலாளர் திரு கோத்தபய ராஜபக்சேவுக்கு இந்திய தூதர் மூலம் தனது கண்டனத்தை மத்திய அரசு தெரிவிக்க வேண்டும் என்று கேட்டுக்கொண்டு அமைகிறேன்.
Moving on, gambling dens, yoga and beauty parlors doubling up as massage parlors and brothels run in commercial and residential areas. The sleazier side of Chennai is keeping our cops busy. Last evening, the Chennai police raided a number of gambling dens and also a hotel in Parry's Corner, where a prostitution racket was run smooth as silk. 2 pimps were arrested while the 2 rescued girls were sent to the government home in Mylapore for rehabilitation. Our crime correspondent Salim throws light on the modus operandi of the pimps operating in Chennai. It was an anonymous call that made the cops see red, alerting them of flesh trade flourishing in the busy business area. Inspector Chellappa decided to go undercover and agree to be a client for a whopping 12,000 rupees an hour. Once the decoy reached the spot, the police followed and nabbed the pimp. Yes, that's a nurse all right, meant to tend to the sick. Police say she was working as a nurse in a well-known private hospital in the heart of the city. She sweet-talked many patients and transformed them into customers. She also established contact with the infamous Dr. Prakash and became a pimp with strong interstate contacts. Once a customer, now a pimp. Altaf, in the guise of a taxi driver, lured passengers. 2 young girls have been rescued from their custody. How do pimps like them operate? Simple. They target poor rural families, promise them 30,000 rupees a month, and bring away the young girls and pocket a cool 30 lakhs a month themselves. The girls are switched once a fortnight, and the offer of fresh faces keep the customers swelling.
The police say that their hard work does not last long. The pimps who were detained under Gundas Act managed to come out on bail within 2 months with their strong social contacts.
Police say the crackdown will continue in Chennai. The target, not just the brothel houses, but massage parlors, gambling clubs and overnight pubs. In Chennai with Salim, Evelyn Matthew for NDTV Hindu. Well, that issue doesn't end there. Sanjay Pinto asks the big question at 9 tonight.
Thank you, Evelyn. And the big question is, do we make no bones about the flesh trade? Joining us in our studio, Mr. G. Jebraj, who's the director of Just Trust, an NGO that works against human trafficking. Joining us through our OB van live is Mrs. Sudha Rambalingam, well-known advocate, respected activist, and the National Vice President of PUCL. And the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Flower Bazaar, Mr. T.S. Anbu. We'll go to Mr. Anbu first. Thank you very much, Mr. Anbu, for joining us. We know you have a meeting. Appreciate your time. Now, how do these pimps actually come out on bail in a few weeks or sometimes even days, and they are back to their old ways? We have several cases in Chennai to go by. Now, isn't the Gundas Act being effectively being slapped on them?
See, any pimp, if he get caught repeatedly, definitely Gundas Act has been slapped on them. It's not that they are let off just like that. The Gundas has been slapped on them. They have got 2-3 steps. First they go to the board and they go to the High Court. But police definitely slaps Gundas on them, and any notable pimp is detained under Gundas Act.
All right, Mr. Anbu, put your hand across your heart and tell me, can prostitution take place in a city like Chennai, or any city for that matter, without police patronage, without police connivance? Is the unholy nexus being broken at least now?
No, we cannot say it as a nexus or this thing, and it cannot be told that police is patronizing all these things. It cannot be termed like that. Police, wherever there is wrong things are going on, police is definitely on the lookout for these things, and we are booking them to the legal action. And as such, I don't see that too in Chennai City Police. I don't see any patronage or any link to these groups. We are all out, we are going against them.
All right, you're being politically correct, Mr. Anbu. Mr. Jebraj, no police connivance, no police patronage. How does it go on?
So, we cannot say like that. See, they are equalizing prostitution and trafficking. They are not giving priority to the issue.
No, but why? Let's not play with semantics, prostitution and trafficking, but answer the question. Police connivance, without police connivance, can this happen?
No, it is in a clandestine nature crime. I mean, most of the time police, some people.
You're saying clandestine operations. I mean, there are colleagues of mine who go back home late at night and they find people, girls standing right there waiting to be picked up. Open soliciting is happening.
Yes, happening in Nungambagam, it's happening.
Then you're saying clandestine.
No, that is prostitution. Trafficking, the innocent girls are being trafficked and they indulge into prostitution forcibly. That is in a clandestine nature.
All right. Mr. Anbu, now pimps also allege that the cops harass them, the cops in fact go for their jugular if mamul is not paid and false cases are filed.
This is totally absurd allegation that they are making. It is not so. Since our actions are very strong against them, they come out with all such baseless arguments against us.
All right, sir. Also, Section 8B, I know it's been slightly amended and repealed also in a sense of the Suppression of Immoral Traffic Act. Now, it talks about living out of the earnings of prostitution and a public place. Now, these are the real ingredients of the offence. But are these ingredients always made out? Is a hotel a public place or a private place? Hotel room, I mean. Or do the cops usually end up making out a case of soliciting in public even if it isn't the case?
No, it's see, 8B as such, the section has been repealed where you book even the victim in that section. It is not like that now. See, if a hotel fellow is engaged actively in engaging this business, he is definitely taken into task along with the pimps. Now, as such, when we get the victims from this group, we actually send them to the government homes where after thorough verification of any relatives, that are blood relatives coming and claiming that they are relatives, after thorough verification only the government home releases them to till that time they are being kept in the government home. So, if the owner of the lodge or the owner of the house has any knowledge about this activity, they are also booked. Police doesn't make out any time that they are being caught up outside or this thing. It amounts only to the knowledge part. If he has a knowledge, yes, he is also into the case.
Mr. Anpu, one final question before we let you go. Is it true that the so-called high-class offenders operate with impunity and only the small fish get caught, as is always the case?
No, police doesn't have any such differentiation. We all out go against everybody, even it is a high class or it's a low class. You would have seen already before also that how Chennai police has acted against even high class people, high class such activities. We go all out against everybody.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Anbu, for joining us on The Big Question. It's over to Mr. Jebaraj. Mr. Jebaraj, not long ago, the Supreme Court came up with an important observation saying, it asked the Solicitor General of India, if you can't curb it with laws, why can't you legalize it?
Yeah, after that the Supreme Court recently gave a notification, a judgment to rehabilitate the women in prostitution. That's why this month 24th is on the hearing is coming.
But yeah, you can, if you legalize it, many would say that you can regulate it, you can monitor the trade, you can provide medical assistance, you can remove the stigma. The crown of thongs could become a crowning glory for all you know, become a full-fledged industry.
Right. What you are going to legalize? Legalize the prostitution?
But let me remind you also, Kautalya's Arthashastra, the income of pimps was taxable.
Right. The thing is, according to Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, prostitution per se is not at all offence. Prostituting others is offence.
Making a living out of the earnings of prostitution, yes.
Living on the earning of prostitution of others, not the same person. And running a brothel and living on the earning of prostitution, procuring girls or intent to procure is also offence. Detaining a person in a brothel house with or without consent is also
So you're against legalizing it?
Yeah, we are against legalization because prostitution per se is not at all offence. See, according to Supreme Court judgment, Visaljit versus Government of India by Justice Ratnavel Pandian, Gaurav Jain versus Government of India, the girls are being indulged into prostitution forcibly, social,
all right, let me bring in Mrs. Sudha Ramalingam. Ma'am, you heard Mr. Jebaraj here, of course, he's rattling off case laws. the inability to curb something shouldn't be an argument against it. You cannot really bring down the rate of murders and rapes, so you do go around legalizing all this.
See, it's not a question of legalizing prostitution. It's a question of also thinking about the practicality of everything. Is it pragmatic enough? Is it possible to really do away with prostitution? In an age and era when people are getting married very late, there is anonymity, there is so much of migration, there is a need also for this, and it has been a trade which has been there from since time immemorial. So it is not something which can be really done away with. And as Mr. Jabaraj also rightly put it, prostitution per se is not a crime even as on date. So what is it that we are talking about? Talking about institutionalization of this or approving them and giving them a license.
We are talking about cases which may be stray cases, but they are alarming in a sense. A nurse actually functioning as a pimp. We know that there are women who are promised jobs as maids but get forced into the flesh trade.
That's why I'm telling you, Sanjay, the whole problem is insofar as it is going to be done stealthily, there would definitely be pimps and other promoters who are going to capitalize on these victims. If it is going to be licensed, then they could per se come out with their trade or avocation and also go for proper medical checkup. You just
that's an interesting point. I'm sorry to interrupt. I mean, proper medical checkup. This is the key point here, because how can you actually, without legalizing prostitution, how can you then force them to undergo medical checks if you don't acknowledge the profession?
See, medical check, mandatory medical examination provision is available in Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 15(5)(a). See, all the prostitutes are victims of trafficking. No, it is the prostitution is a vicious circle. Nobody can enter easily into the circle. For example, I want to purchase sex. I am going to somewhere, Madurai or somewhere. I don't have any access. If I want to purchase sex, I have to approach somebody. I have to get a girl from some other pimps and brokers. So, for a purchaser, for a client, without pimps and broker, without other person, I cannot have a sex with a prostitute, right? So, how a female person can enter into prostitution very easily? Somebody should procure
That's contentious. Ma'am, do you want to join issue with him there? He says it's not so easy to actually enter, but then it's so easy to be trapped.
I'm sorry to tell this. See, all these things that you're talking about is only when you're not licensing this that the woman becomes a victim at the hands of the brokers or at the hands of the pimps or the brothel owners. So what really happens is if you start licensing it, people who do have a will to do this could definitely go and practice it openly, and they would also be protected. Both the victim also gets medical aid, so also the client, the customer also can seek for proper medical protection and also seek for certain mandatory provisions where he would also be opting for a safe sex. The entire thing of the clandestine activity as far as this business is concerned is promoting victimization of women and exploitation of women.
But then if you talk of victimization now, if you legalize it now, parents could push their daughters out of poverty or due to greed into prostitution. I mean, this will only legitimize this practice.
I'm sorry, Sanjay. It's so naive to say that if you're going to license something, parents will push them to these activities. I'm definite parents are not going to push anyone, and at any rate, girls these days are really intelligent. They are not going to make choices without their consent. And
Mr. Jabaraj, I mean,
they know what is right and what is wrong.
Would you agree? Because
no. See, legalization means...
No, we are talking specifically of parents pushing their own children into this.
Yeah, definitely.
It's happening.
See, yes, it's happening.
How rampant is it?
Recently in Coimbatore, fifth class student was indulged into prostitution by their parents.
For what reason? Poverty?
Poverty or any other reason. And in Ramnad, the parent themselves indulged into prostitution.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
what you need is poverty elevation programs. Also give equip
poverty-
these girls
poverty-
with more knowledge about what is happening. And I'm definite it is not merely poverty which makes people to go to such levels of pushing their children into something. There's something more than that. There must be some psychological problem for these parents also.
That's a valid
We
point,
have to
because sometimes
understand
even
the social
poverty forces people to
circumstances.
part with their vital organs also. So it's poverty makes people do strange things.
Poverty is the induction agent. Poverty is the induction agent that procurers and the traffickers misusing the vulnerability and indulge into prostitution. And legalization means you want to commercialize the women.
No, let me, I mean, since you are in the field, let me throw this book at you. It's called the International Sex and Red Light Guide. And I quote from this book. It says, if one chooses to use her body instead of slavery, and men are willing to pay more than slave labor wages, if it's not your body, if it's not your life, it is not your business. It is not your business, Mr. Jayaprakash. I put this to you.
No, not like that. See, prostitution is not a business. It is not a work. See,
What is it then if it's not a
it is
business today?
it is a
It's an illegal business.
exploitative status of a women. So, if business or work without exploitation is a work.
Prostitution without exploitation is an oxymoron, sir.
So, prostitution without exploitation is not at all possible.
Yeah,
and
so it's
how
not
do you
possible.
say it is a work, and how many people will choose that, how many girls will choose that as a work?
Ma'am, also pedophiles like the likes of Will Humes of the world will have a free run, because we are told, according to statistics, that 25% of commercial sex workers are minors.
Yes, Sanjay, that's the reason why I say if it is licensed, we can monitor. One. Secondly, this is something which is not new. There are biblical references about prostitutes. You have the famous quote of Jesus saying, if you want to throw a stone at a prostitute, let a person who is not indulged in any wrong go and stone. There was nobody to stone her. See, this is something which has been there since time immemorial, and we should understand that if you are going to license this, I'm not saying legalize, make everybody prostitutes. What I'm trying to tell is licenses so that there will be a regulation, there will be no exploitation, there will be medical and insurance facilities for these victims, and the customers too could be protected against HIV/AIDS.
Ma'am, but don't you agree, ma'am, that women are victims in this case? Women are victims, and anyone who profits from their exploitation deserves to be punished, ma'am. Because we are also told that even the commercial sex workers get only about 1/10 of the actual fee. And you need to have commercial sex workers as partners in the fight against AIDS today.
You're right, Sanjay. What I'm telling you is, if it is licensed, you cannot have this exploitation. What I'm trying to tell is so that there will be no middleman in this trade. So that the woman who is, whether you call her a victim, whether you call her a person who is indulges in it with choice, really gets the benefits of whatever she is sacrificing, and not be responsible for to somebody else. The pimp earns more than 80%, and this woman gets hardly 10 to 20%. Do you think that should be promoted? I don't think it should be promoted. If you want to stop this, I am definite there should be a licensing of prostitution.
See, in brothel areas, Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, our networking organization, anti-human trafficking organization, they are running night schools. Because the prostitute in that area, they don't want to put their children into prostitution. They are sending the children to the night school. They don't want the prostitute themselves. They don't want the children in the profession.
So you're saying if you legalize it, you will in a sense perpetuate this illegal trade.
It will increase the trafficking. It will affect our second generation women, girl children.
There's also a school of thought that India is sitting on a HIV time bomb.
Right.
That unless you actually sort of legalize certain things, you cannot force them to undergo these medical checks. I come back to the same point here.
No.
Can you help sex workers if you force their employers to go underground?
No, it is not like that. It is, see, in Chennai, there is no red light area. Right.
Says who?
There is no specific area for.
Yes, ma'am.
Officially there is no, but all of us know it is being practiced everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not merely practiced in particular areas, it's now practiced even in mobile four-wheelers.
Yeah. See, after the UNODC program, in Maharashtra, Goa, Delhi and West Bengal, the number of cases, even in Tamil Nadu also, the number of cases booked under 8B is very, very less. They are focusing on the traffickers. The law is excellent. See, in Andhra Pradesh, they have closed some 16 hotel licenses. If a license is cancelled by a district magistrate, there is no set aside, there is no appeal, there is no stay. In Tamil Nadu, the SP of Salem attached 3 properties of the trafficker. So, these are all the stringent area of the act. If the act is properly used by the law enforcement agency, police and judiciary and the NGOs.
We know it's not being effectively used, sir.
So
we know it's not being effectively used. Why pretend that it's being used?
Yeah, not effectively used.
This is an ostrich tendency that we are all caught up in. Yes, ma'am.
I'm definite, Sanjay, just by closing a few lodges, prostitution would, if you're going to say that prostitution will be done away with, we are too naive and innocent.
That's a band-aid solution, perhaps.
Moving from one place to another.
In Andhra Pradesh, convictions are coming up. 10 years, 15 years, convictions are coming up for the pimps and brokers.
Let's talk about Chennai, sir. Their pimps are coming out in a couple of months on bail, sir.
That is the thing is the NGO coordination between NGO, police, judiciary and the state, even with the corporate, it should be very need in Chennai and Tamil Nadu.
Right, ma'am, just to flip this on its head, isn't this a form of bonded labor really? Because the recent survey has indicated that it takes up to 15 years for a girl to buy her freedom. A girl who's forced into this trade without her knowledge sometimes.
Sanjay, that's precisely the reason why I keep on repeating and telling you, if it is licensed, there can be no bonded labor. If there is, if it is licensed, there cannot be anyone exploiting a woman and taking her away. After all of us know and understand this is a profession which is needed in society for various sociological reasons.
To the male chauvinism
people. To the male, yes.
If exploitative tendency male is there, they need the women to be exploited, isn't it? So the client should be punished.
Absolutely.
She's saying if you legalize it, you will end exploitation.
So no, that is no. It will really increase the trafficking.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. I'm
yes,
sorry,
please
it
go
will
ahead.
not increase trafficking.
No.
Trafficking is different from prostitution per se. Trafficking would definitely be decreased or could even be done away with if you are going to license this trade. See, after all of us know that it is not possible to do away with prostitution for various sociological reasons. Whether we like it or not, there are biological compulsions, there are other compulsions which make this trade a flourishing one. And if you are going to ensure that these women can practice independently with license, with medical support, with insurance, with all coverage possible, then it could be done with independent knowledge of whatever they do. It would be an informed consent of the woman, and it will not be a sort of a slavery or taking away.
All right, you're saying you will root out the element of coercion here. Well, point taken, ma'am. That's an important point you're making. But when you say legalize,
coercion and trafficking.
Yes, ma'am. When you say legalize, what exactly do you mean at a practical level, ma'am? Do you mean a commercial sex worker can open a brothel anywhere, like a clinic, and advertise? Is it okay if it's in our neighborhood?
No,
Is it okay for our children to be playing close to these places?
I'm sorry, Sanjay, even an advocate cannot advertise. It's not as if every profession can be advertised. So how can you talk about it? You don't go and advertise this, but you license certain things. There are certain areas where you could do things in silence, and you can't have a liquor shop everywhere. It's not open for the state to give license to a liquor shop in the vicinity of a temple or in a residential neighborhood. So, if I say that you license this, it doesn't mean you're throwing it open to everyone and you're going to attract young children or others.
Ma'am, also, I mean, we know that there are several, if you go look at certain newspapers, there are several, advertisements which very subtly actually peddle sleaze, the so-called massage parlors and all that. Many of them have come under the scanner.
Yes. Massage parlors, most of the massage parlors are the same prostitution is going on. See, legalization is not a solution. See, our children are being trafficked and exploited in the brothel houses, is it okay? How we can say our children are being exploited, our being children are, nobody is, see, prostitution is an exploitative business, exploitative work. Nobody will voluntarily coming and voluntarily indulge into prostitution. That is not at all possible. It is very, very less. See, for a purchaser, for a client, it is very difficult to enter in the vicious circle. And how can a child under 18 can enter into this vicious circle?
Absolutely. Ma'am, also I want to quote, a 1949 UN convention which actually labels trafficking and prostitution as incompatible with the dignity and worth of human beings.
You're right, Sanjay. If it's going to be something which is thrust upon anyone, it is definitely against you. It brings down the human dignity. I do not say person should be volunteering to do this job, but if under certain circumstances a person is going to say yes to this, there are a number of college girls, women who are also employed in very good, so-called good positions, who also for various purposes indulge in such activities for their pocket money or for various other reasons. It is not for us to sit in moral judgment about all these things. Let's talk about this in a dispassionate manner. If you are going to look at it in a dispassionate manner, I would not be promoting prostitution per se, but if in case it's going to be there, how are you going to have it? And if, as you really know, it's not possible to do away with it. Time and again, we have been told it is a trade which is there since times immemorial. So what are you going to do about it? When you can't do away with it, at least regulate it. Regulate it in a fashion in which everyone gets their share without exploiting the victim woman. That's what I'm trying to
Completely running out of time. We have final comment from you.
So without exploitation, prostitution is not at all possible.
Okay.
See, if you are legalizing, the women will be commercialized. Are you able to imagine before 15 years 1 liter of mineral water is, can be purchased? No, basic water is our basic right. Just like that, yes. Women are being commercialized.
Yeah, and there can be no argument that the dignity of women must be upheld, that exploitation of women must end, yes. Whether you legalize it or not. This debate will rage on. But thank you very much, ma'am, Mrs. Sudha Rambalingam, after a hectic day at court, for joining us. Always a pleasure to have somebody like you who represents dignity and credibility on our show. It's an honor to have you, ma'am. Thank you very much, Mr. Debjar. We appreciate the work you're doing in the field as well. And before we slide into a break, I want to remind you of that song, that tender voice of George Michael when he sang Roxanne. Roxanne, you don't have to sell your body to the streets tonight. Now, that person who played Roxanne in that particular video was Francisca, a well-known model. But what about our modern-day Franciscas in our cities who are trapped between the moral and the immoral, perhaps just for their survival? Do give that some thought. But Evelyn Matthew will be right back after a very short break with more news on this special power-packed 1 hour bulletin. Don't touch that remote.